Hello everyone, now let us discuss about global regulatory perspective of bulk pharmaceutical excipients. In the current session, we will be discussing about the U.S.-FDA perspective, EU, Europe, Middle East and African countries perspective, Japan, Ministry of Health and Welfare perspective and International Pharmaceutical Excipients Council, IPEC, IPEC. Now coming to US FDA perspective. An inactive ingredient is defined by the US FDA as any component of a drug product other than an active ingredient. And in the United States, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, access and permits the use of excipients as a part of new drug application NDA. Interestingly, in the US, guideline relating to preclinical data for new drug application submission, excipients are not mentioned. In the guideline regarding the preclinical data for NDA submission, the excipients are not mentioned. Under US law, a new pharmaceutical excipient, unlike an active drug, has no regulatory status unless it can be qualified through one or more of the approved mechanisms that are available for the components used in finished drug products. Finished drug dosage forms. They don't have a regulatory status. Excipients does not have any regulatory status in the US. And they can be approved by approved mechanisms. They can be qualified through one or more approved mechanisms that are available. Now let us discuss about those approved mechanisms. The first one is generally recognized as safe, which is nothing but GRAS, G-R-A-S, generally recognized as safe determination pursuant to 21 Code of Federal Regulation, CFR 182, 184 and 186. The next is approval of food additive petition under 21 CFR 171. The next is as contained in a new drug application, approval for a specific drug product and for particular function or use in that dosage form. These are the approved mechanisms through which the excipients are qualified in the US. Now the next one is EU EMEA perspective. EU means European Union and EMEA is nothing but Europe, Middle East and Asia, Africa. Europe, Middle East and Africa perspective. Within the EU, there is a directive that makes it clear that the new excipients will be treated. New excipients will be treated in the same way as new actives. And in Europe, the need for companies to fully consider the types of excipients in new drug formulations has been the focus of a guideline released recently by the European Commission on Drug Label and Package Leaflet Excipient Information for All, which is nothing but MAAs, Marketing Authorization Applications. This guideline indicates that all excipients must be listed on the drug label for parenteral, topical, inhalational and ophthalmic products. And for other medicinal products, only those excipients with a defined and recognized action of effect, they need to be declared on the label. And in drug package leaflets, all excipients must be included. European regulations and guidelines also require that a full statement of the excipients used be given in the summary of product characteristics, SPC. Summary of product characteristics documents for new drug formulations. Now coming to Japan Ministry of Health and Welfare Perspective, MHW. The formal structure for regulating pharmaceutical excipient is quite complex. In Japan, the responsibilities are divided among several divisions in the MHW. That is nothing but Ministry of Health and Welfare, National Institutes for Hygienic Sciences, NHS, and Central Pharmaceutical Affairs Council, CPAC. They play a key role in the regulation of excipients. Now finally coming to International Pharmaceutical Excipients Council, IPEC. Lack of international regulatory guidelines led to the formation of International Pharmaceutical Excipients Council (IPEC) in 1991. This industry association with European, US and Japanese membership has championed the international standardization of excipients, the introduction of useful new excipients and the development of safety evaluation guidelines. These guidelines addressing all the primary routes of drug administration quality have been published. And the intention of IPEC is to ensure that these guidelines reflect the concerns and intentions of the responsible parties in the United States, European Union and Japan. In other words, the guidelines are harmonized so that excipients that meet the requirements of a harmonized monograph can be sold and used in these three areas of world. Now coming to conclusion, pharmaceutical excipients have no official regulatory status independent of the finished dosage form in which they are used. As a result, the mechanism for regulation of these ingredients is uncertain and variable. And for excipients found in over-the-counter drug products regulated under the FDA's OTC monograph system, the agency operates under a set of proposed rules. They are still pending that provide the general considerations for acceptable excipients and their functions. And for prescription drugs, excipients are reviewed as a part of drug application and not given any independent review. The FDA looks to several sources to identify these previously reviewed excipients, including the food additive or food GRAS status, inclusion in the USP or NF National Formulary, or prior review in other new drug applications. These previously used acceptable excipients are identified in the FDA's Inactive Ingredient Guide. And the inclusion of an ingredient in this guide provides the FDA a reasonable assurance that an ingredient used within the scope of the usage provided in the guide will be acceptable. Therefore, regulations of well-known excipients in both OTC and prescription drugs are subject to reasonably certain set of procedures. However, lack of an independent review for the excipients creates significant issues for companies that wish to use new or novel excipients in their drug products. Existing regulations and guidelines indicating that new excipients be treated as new chemical entities and therefore by inference undergo full toxicological evaluation. Other drug requirements in Europe and Japan require that information on excipients appear in patent literature, although there is no similar legal requirement in the United States. And for new excipients, drug companies need to carefully assess the benefits of using new substance in consideration of the extra workload, costs, and possible regulatory delays or rejections. However, now that an active role for excipients is recognized in the form of sustained release or drug delivery system, there is more need for companies to use the new excipients. And the publication of the IPEC recommendations for the safety evaluation of new excipients is helpful to develop the new excipients. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for further videos on regulatory affairs and other related pharmaceutical disciplines.